it's so important to worship God in our pain as well, which brings me to one of the points, how to draw near to God. And that is, don't waste your pain. Don't waste your pain. Because God's giving us trials and tribulations to refine us, to test us, to purify us. And if that's why it's so important to know the attributes of God. So when you know God's attributes, and you know his motives and his desires for you, which is to primarily be to be conformed into the image of his son. So it's not about your comfort, it's about being conformed into the image of Christ. Then your pain becomes a process where he chops away the flesh in us. That's so difficult that we struggle every day. But that's where I wanted to bring in the scriptures. David wrote, "Before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now I keep your word." And I find that in the NAR, or word of faith, or whatever, prosperity gospel, your natural inclination to trials and tribulations is to push, to resist, right? Because nobody likes suffering. Even Paul didn't like. He pleaded God 3 times, "Please remove this thorn in the flesh." And God answered his prayer, just not what he thought it would be. And he said, "My grace is sufficient for you." And so God, through the thorn in the flesh, was protecting Paul from pride, from being puffed up because of his revelations. And God does the same way. He works the same in our lives, in that he allows us to go through these sufferings and difficult times to protect us from something far worse that we don't really realize. And so if we don't understand the attributes of God, if we don't understand the promises of God, then we're going to really have a problem when suffering and hard times hit. And as you said, if you'd been through what you guys experienced as a family through the diagnosis, if you were in the NAR, you probably would have shipwrecked your faith. But when we have the word of God to stand on and we know the truth, then these trials and tribulations, we understand the purpose and we are able to endure them, and we don't see it as a failure. We see it as the Father allowing us to go through this the suffering, because it is for our good. All things work together for the good of those who love him, who are going to be conformed into his image. And just one of my notes, I wrote this: trials are not a sign that God has forsaken you or that he's removed his presence. They're a sign that you're a child of God. You're being tested, refined, and they're an opportunity to know God in a deeper way. So really the lesson is, don't waste your pain.